Welcome to this edition of Journeys. I'm your host, Gleaves Whitney. The title of my video essay is The Joy of the Liberal Arts in a Pandemic and Beyond. It's in 7 short episodes. Chapter 1, Accelerating Our Experience of Big Things. For years now, higher education has been on a forced march across uncharted terrain. Numerous structural changes are afoot, driven by demography, economics, technology, politics, identity politics, social justice, and now the coronavirus pandemic. Understanding the forces that are reshaping higher education is critical in these uncertain times. But in our rush to adjust to a new and dynamic situation, it's also critical that we not sacrifice what has long been the glory of higher education, the liberal arts. In a crisis, it is best to balance change and continuity. The liberal arts help us do so by embracing both. On the one hand, they are the anchor and bedrock that conserves the best of our culture. On the other hand, they are the wind in the sail that powers us to betterment. This dynamism between change and continuity, between innovation and conservation, makes the liberal arts ageless. As our freeing arts, they help us throw off the ties of ignorance and prejudice that hold us back from the fullest pursuit of excellence of which we are capable. As our thinking arts, they help us chart the course to further and higher thinking. The main job of the liberal arts is to help lifelong learners grasp a reality, that's the truth, feel the wonder of it, it's the beauty, and work ethically, creatively, and productively with it, and that's goodness. History and literature, foreign languages and classics, all provide a wonderful introduction to the splendor of the truth. These disciplines immerse students in the reality of the human condition and show both constructive and destructive ways to deal with it. Let's look briefly at how a few authors do this. Every year I use Homer's Odyssey in the Hauenstein Center's annual Hidden Wounds of War conference to help veterans make the difficult readjustment to civilian life. In the epic, Odysseus spends 10 years returning home from the decade-long Trojan War. On the way back, he must navigate horrific perils, but most of all, he must resist hard drugs, easy sex, and strange gods. It's all there, every distraction, and the veterans appreciate Homer's map to help them find their way back home. It's told by someone who understands what they are going through, even if a span of 2,800 years separates them. Because most students are young, they have limited exposure to the diversity of human types. The study of literature accelerates their acquisition of worldly wisdom, making them less likely to be shocked or deceived. By transporting readers to the unfamiliar and the other, fiction presents case studies of ethical dilemmas students haven't yet encountered. Reading Herman Melville's Moby Dick, for example, speeds up the student's acquisition of knowledge of the world on its terms. The Pequod, the Nantucket whaling ship at the center of the novel, contains a society unto itself. All our virtues and vices are exposed during the hunt for the great white whale. The story does not end well. It illustrates what happens when a leader is driven by a maniacal obsession that goes unchecked. Captain Ahab, an ungodly, godlike man, is a type that students should know. His obsession was with a bull sperm whale. Hitler's was with the Jews. Stalin's was with the capitalists. Diocletian's in ancient Rome was with the Christians. Melville's Moby Dick is a parable of destruction. So is another book, was written about the same time, Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin sought to pull slavery up by the roots, pull it out of American soil, and cast it into the cleansing fires of justice. The bestseller made the evils of chattel slavery unnervingly real to Northerners. So real that public opinion tilted decidedly more abolitionist. It even made abolitionists of some in the South and the West who had not previously been opposed to slavery. As a result, historians often cite the novel as one of the causes of the Civil War. Certainly, President Lincoln thought so. When he received Stowe in the White House in 1862, he reportedly said, "So you're the little woman who wrote the book that made this great war." The liberal arts teach big things. If you've been steeped in them a while, you see that reality, in our Western perspective, has been defined, organized, and interpreted through polarities. Life and death, good and evil, change and continuity, unity and diversity, core and periphery, freedom and necessity, justice and mercy. These polarities are existential, baked into existence. Our most provocative books draw on these polarities to explore the nature of reality. So Genesis uses a vivid sequence of polarities to describe the creation of the world, and Ecclesiastes uses many of these same polarities to say that the world is not enough, that existential opposites cannot be reconciled except by God. Therefore, seek out your God. Likewise, Antigone is a veritable study in polarities. The classicists George Steiner and Eva Brand observe that of all Greek tragedies, Sophocles' drama is distinguished for expressing all the five principal constants of conflict in the condition of man: the confrontation of men and women, of age and youth, of society and individual, of the living and the dead, and of men and gods. The play presents each of these as an equilibrium, evenly poised in its resolutions. Closer to the present, A Tale of Two Cities famously opens with polarities that characterize modernity as an age of extremes. Quote, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, but we were all going direct the other way." Close quote. Setting the stage of his novel with these memorable words, Dickens not only contrasted two early modern cities, London and Paris, but also argued that the French Revolution brought all these polarizing extremes to the surface, and we've been trying to reconcile them ever since. From Greek tragedies to Genesis creation stories to our astronomers' latest cosmologies, polarities abound. I challenge students to organize more of their thinking around polarities because life presents not just problems to solve, but also polarities to manage. Experienced leaders know this. Current debates over how to manage the coronavirus pandemic highlight the point. It's a Harvard Business Review case study in the making, this fierce tug-of-war between health officials on the one hand and economic advisors on the other over how to achieve the best outcome, saved lives, and a robust economy. Our president and governors are trying to find the right balance, but until scientists develop a vaccine to halt the spread of coronavirus, which is a problem to solve, the debate between public health officials and economists will generate a clash of values and require the balancing of risks. And our leaders will need to bring their best judgment to bear. And that's a polarity to manage. This concludes Chapter 1 of my video essay, The Joy of the Liberal Arts in a Pandemic and Beyond. I invite you to watch Chapter 2. Thanks for dropping in.